Welcome to this walkthrough of Animatron, which is an online program that works on Chromebooks that lets you work on animation using cartoon characters. You can incorporate audio, clip art, text, shapes. However, it is free, and the free version doesn't allow you to do a whole lot. It does have a lot of good backgrounds and characters, but unfortunately, under the free version, you can only have 5 total projects, and they can only be 10 seconds long. That's pretty short. Also, you don't have access to their audio library. There's a lot of elements that are not open in the free version, but for our purposes it will work so that we can create a cartoon using the program. You will sign up with a Google account, and then this is what we would call your dashboard. When you go to your name, when you're signed in, it's My Projects. Again, you can only have 5 projects at a time in here. So if you have a project that you don't want, you're going to have to go to your projects panel here, or your dashboard rather. Click on the name of the project that you want to get rid of, and when it pops up, click on the delete key here on the right and then hit OK. And then that will delete that project. So as long as you don't have 5 going on at the same time, you're good to go. So you can play around in one and delete it if you need to. Alright, so that is the dashboard. To create a new project, you're going to click Start Creating, and ahead of time you're going to want to do any preliminary work. So if there are sound effects or music that you want, and in my class we're going to use the audio library from YouTube to download these MP3 files. There's also sound effects if you need sound effects that you can get from the YouTube library as well. So lots of different things that you can search in there, and those are free to use. So you want to get all your sound effects. I would say make a folder first if you're using a Chromebook on your Google Drive. Put your sound effects in there. In my class, they have to have 2 objects with transparent backgrounds, so they'll go in to Google. Be sure they click on the tools and set it to transparent so that they can get transparent pictures. And then, of course, when you find a picture that you want, you would give it a click. You want to make sure that it actually is transparent. So we should see checkerboards in the background, and if you don't see those checkerboards, that probably means it's not transparent. And that happens sometimes, and you'll want to do all of that work ahead of time. Now, I've already saved mine, but we are going to have to make sure that you have that transparent background when you save these, because you can't remove the background from inside the program. And then finally, have some sort of script ahead of time, because you need to have a script so you know what you're going to say, especially since we only have 10 seconds. You could also record your audio in another program, some sort of media recorder, or in our classroom we use Soundtrap sometimes, so you can go ahead and have that MP3 done, or you can do that in here, but at least write up your script. And then of course you're going to be choosing using their program a background and a character to represent yourself or whatever it is that you're doing. Now, before I get into that, I just want to do the basic setup of how to get your project going and make sure that it's created properly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look up here. It's going to say unnamed, and they don't have you name it before you get in here, so you have to click on this little gear to name it. So I'm just going to say Tanya's blog cartoon. And then you can put a description in here if you want to. But the thing is, it doesn't automatically update up here, which really makes me mad. So you're going to go click on your profile icon and go back out to that My Projects. It's going to open in a new tab, so you won't lose anything. But you want to go down here and make sure it says your blog cartoon has your name down here. Okay, if it does, you're good. So I'm actually going to close this one out so I don't have to stare at unnamed. And now click on the pencil here, so that I can go in and edit it where I can actually see the name. I know it's weird, I prefer to do that to make sure it's saving properly and so forth. Alright, so now it's on there, we're good to go. You are going to have to move to the expert view, because what we're doing is going to require keyframing. If you're doing fading in or motion, you're going to need to keyframe, and we can't do that in the light view easily. So I'm going to switch this to expert, which gives us an animation view as well. So we've named it, we've gone to the profile, we've made sure it works, and now we are ready to record and import audio. So we're going to do the speaking part first, because you need to know how loud your background music needs to be, and you don't know until you do your speaking part. You can do that by pressing the microphone icon here, or like I said, if you already have it recorded, just import it here. So I'm going to click on the microphone icon. The first time you use it, it's going to ask you to allow it to access your microphone, so be sure you say that. And then it may go ahead and start recording, so you're probably going to have to hit stop the first time. It's not a big deal. If you hit record, and now I am recording, and you hit stop, if you hit play, you'll hear it. And now I am recording. Okay, so it does that. And then if you're like, oh, I don't like that one, you just hit this record button again and you just record over it. So it's not a big deal to record multiple times. Just hit stop and hit record again. When you finally get the one you want, you'll click add. So let me record mine. And I gave a script for my students on the actual handout so they can use that as a guide. But here I go. Again, you want to keep this under 10 seconds because in this free version we can only have a 10-second scene. Hi, I'm Mrs. Skinner, a teacher who loves computers, photography, and playing with weights. Learn more about fitness in my blog. Look at that, 9 seconds. Yay me. Okay, so once you get it, you're going to hit add, and you want to play it first, but for the sake of time I won't. I'm going to hit add, and it's going to take a minute, and then it's going to put it down here. So it says audio, and it has today's date, and you could rename that if you wanted to. And then you can sit through down here. When you hit the play button, you will see the playhead move along here. You can see where the sound files or the waveforms are. Hi, I'm Mrs. Skinner, a teacher. Okay, so it's all in there. And we need that first because otherwise we're not going to be able to time our animation properly. So we need to get all that in there first. Now I'm using a nice USB microphone. So if you're on a Chromebook and you're using the onboard microphone, you need to get your mouth down there close to the microphone, wherever that happens to be, and you need to talk loudly because your background music is going to seem super loud whenever you record using just the standard built-in microphone. Okay, now I'm going to import my music that I downloaded from YouTube. So I'm going to go and click on import. I'm going to click select files, and then I'm going to go find it. Mine's called Newsroom. And then you give it, it has to load, so it's going to upload it basically to their server for a second. Then you'll click it and hit finish. And same thing, it's going to put it down here. Now if you have your playhead scooted over, your sound file will start way down here. It's not a big deal. You just have to pick this up and scoot it over. But we do want it to be at the beginning. Also, your sound file is going to be too long because this one's like a minute and a half and yours could be 3 or 4 minutes long for that matter. So we will have to make some changes to that, telling it where it's finished. So to do that, I'm going to come right to the 10-second marker and click. And then you're going to right click your mouse and basically you're going to say, let's give it an end action here. Change end action. And we're going to say right here, let's end this. Don't continue. Don't loop, just end. So I'm going to hit that. And then notice how this is all grayed out. So basically this will end right there. Okay. Now let's go ahead and see how loud this is. So I'm just going to get here in the middle somewhere with my playhead and hit the play button. Okay, so that music, insanely loud. So I want to be sure I'm clicked in this music area anywhere. And then here on the panel to the left, we're going to turn that volume down. You're probably going to have to go on a Chromebook, I bet anywhere from 5 to 10%. Now I can probably get away with 15% because I've got a nice microphone here. Hey, I'm Mrs. Skinner, a teacher who loves computers, photography. That works pretty good for me. So that 15% or so is good for me. But again, as a student who's probably not talking as loudly as you should be, you're probably going to have to turn that music down quite a bit. So just be aware that we need to be able to hear you loud and clear. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do now that we've got that taken care of is we're going to make a change so that this music fades out at the end because as of right now it's just going to play and cut off. And that's pretty abrupt. So about the, oops, don't move that thing by the way, that's the end of your scene. So I want to put that back if I can get a hold of it. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to grab my playhead. I'm going to get to about the 8.5 second mark. I'm going to insert a keyframe here. And you can hit the plus sign on your keyboard or right click your mouse and insert keyframe. If you're using a Chromebook and you're using a little pad, you have to do a 2-finger tap to right click. All right, now that I have this keyframe, it's a diamond there, I'm going to have a drop down arrow next to my sound. And I'm going to hit that drop down arrow because this shows me my volume. And I can adjust my volume. So basically from here to here, see this keyframe that was automatically in there to here, it's going to be that 15.5%. Okay. But down here at the end where this last keyframe is, I'm going to click once. See how now there's like a line? For that last keyframe, I want it to be 0. Now, if I drag my playhead, see here, this volume is changing. So it's that 15 whatever here, and then it goes out to 0. So as I play, this is going to progressively get quieter. Learn more about fitness in my blog. See how it very gently fades out over that 1.5 seconds. So we definitely want to make sure that we do that. And you can do keyframing with objects too. This is just how you keyframe volume. So now I'm going to click here in the space where that drop down arrow was to hide it. And then I don't have to see that keyframe. But you can see the diamonds, and those diamonds represent keyframes in lots of programs. Flash, Premiere, lots of programs utilize keyframing. Okay, so we've got the audio portion, and that's good to go at this point. Now we're ready to start creating the scene. So I'm going to use the market. I'm going to click on market up here to start creating my scene. You want your playhead, of course, to be at the beginning because you want everything to be here, at least the scene, the whole time. So you're going to go find the scene that you want to use. And you'll want to do this before you even get started on the project, so you sort of have an idea of like what your little clip arts need to look like to match. I'm going to use under teachers and students, I'm going to grab one of these backgrounds. This is for a classroom background because, you know, I'm a teacher, so I want to have a classroom background. You just drag it in and let go. And it always puts the background at the bottom and it locks it. Now, if for some reason I needed to get rid of this background, I could unlock this and then I could click delete, you know, backspace or whatever and get rid of it there. But I'm going to lock it back. And they lock it so you're not accidentally picking it up and scooting it around all the time. Now, you do not have to use the people that come with the set that you chose the background from. You can, but you don't have to. You can go to back and then go back through and find the person that you want. Now, for the purposes of my class, we're recording audio, so we do kind of need, well, people talking. So I'm going to put the word talk in here. Now I'm just on animated sets. I'm not in a set right now. And I hit enter, and then it says here's objects that are talking. And then here's sets that have talking. So I'm going to go here to business people because this set has talking and it has a redheaded lady there, and I'm redheaded. So I'm going to use her. And I know there's a talking version of her in here. One of these gals. Here we go. There she is. She's talking. Now, we either need to have our people come onto the screen, so like animate on, like they're walking on. And there are some people that walk, like some of these scenes actually have walking people. Like here's one. She actually could walk onto my scene. And then she could turn and do whatever. Or you could have her fade in. Okay, now I'll use the walking one since we have a walking one. So again, make sure you're at the beginning of your scene. I'm going to put her over here. I don't really like the size that she is right now, so we're going to size her up so she's nice and tall. Not that I'm tall, but okay. So we'll start with her off of the screen, and then she's going to walk in. And I have to decide how long she's going to walk for. Now, I know I'm going to start talking right here, so I probably only need her to walk for just a little bit because then I need to switch her so she's talking, okay? So from here to here, she's walking. That's keyframes again, right? So for the second one, for that 1 second mark, I'm going to right click and insert a keyframe. That's actually just shy of 1 second. Let me pick it up and scoot it over. There we go. Okay, and then at this 1 second, we're going to scoot her over so that she walks for that amount of time. See? Here we go. And that's called tweening. In some programs, you have to actually put a tween in there in between those, but in this one, you don't. So now she should walk if I hit play. Hi. Okay, so she says hi. Now, so what happens here is now I need a different one of her, right? So I'm going to go back to market and get a different one of her. And I want the one who's talking. So let's find her. Oh, that one is crying and throwing a fit. Here's the talking one. Now, it's going to put her on a new line, okay? And I need to put her at this next spot when we would start to talk, or right here or whatever. I'm going to drag her in because I know she needs to be there. And then I'm going to click on her, and I need to make her the right height because, you know, they are kind of the same person, right? So they need to be the same height roughly. Now it's like she turns a little bit, so I'll make it over just a little bit. Okay, now here's where this gets complicated. So like here it's walking lady, talking lady, but walking lady's still there, right? I need walking lady to not be there anymore. So right after that first second, I'm going to right click in here. And I'm going to make that end action. And I'm going to end her. Well, that sounded terrible, right? I ended her. But notice what this does is it puts a blank keyframe in here. So now she's not in here anymore. So walking lady is not in here anymore. Now I might want that to start a little sooner. So let's scoot it over one, maybe one more. so that she's gone before the other one pops in. There, see, there's a frame where she's there, and then here's this gal. So now, if I play it. Hi, I'm Mrs. Skinner. Okay, so we walk in, we turn, we talk. Okay, and in my class they have to have 3 poses. So now I've got a walking pose and I've got a talking pose. Okay. Now she's going to stand there this whole time unless I change her end, you know, somewhere. So at some point, if I need her to not be there anymore, I would do an end action and I would tell her to stop, and that would put a blank keyframe after that. But in this case, now we would start listening to our audio to decide when we need our objects that have to be in there. Now, if you want your object to already be in the scene, so let's say I have a camera. I think I have a camera. Let's see. I'm going to import. I'm going to hit the import button and go select my file. So hopefully there's a camera in here in my pictures. I did record a camera at some point. Well, I'll use the cat for now, even though that has nothing to do with my topic. See, I can't do it. It's going to bother me. I'm going to have to go get one. Okay, here we go. Camera clip art. It's on my Google Drive, and I'm on the laptop right now, so I can't get a hold of it like I want to. Okay. That one's not transparent. Always annoying when you're on a computer and school firewalls block things and you can't. There we go. This one's transparent. All right, so save image as, camera, in my pictures. Let's pop back in here, and now I'll import that camera. Okay, select files, camera. Green camera of all colors. Okay, once that loads, it'll appear here. I'll click on it and hit finish. And again, I am at the very beginning of my scene, which means this camera is going to be here from the beginning, which right now it's a little bit of scene because it's too big. I'm going to grab a hold of the corner, and then I can put the camera somewhere. So let's say I want to put it on this desk up here, like on these books, right? So we'll just kind of get that camera up there. And I probably should rotate it because it wouldn't be sitting sideways. All right, that's probably really big for a camera, but it's fine. Okay, so now the camera is sitting there the whole time. But when I get to the part that I talk about how I like photography, I'm going to make that camera move around. Okay, so I'm going to have to like hit my play button for a minute and find out where that part is. Mrs. Skinner, a teacher who loves computers, photography. Okay, so there's photography. So we'll just scoot it back a little bit here. So now I have to keyframe again, right? From here, from this diamond to now, I need it to sit still. So I need to insert a keyframe. So from here to here, it does not move. Okay. Then from this point on, I can start making it move. I'm just going to have it sort of rotate back and forth. So here, I'm going to just a couple seconds later, it's not seconds, it's, you know, tenths of a second. I'm going to insert a keyframe. And then over here, I'm going to rotate it. Now, I rotated it 8 degrees earlier. I'm going to rotate it that way some. So it's going -14, right? Then I'm going to scoot this over a little bit, add another keyframe. So you're just doing frame-by-frame animation, basically, here. And then let's make it go the other direction. Okay? And then maybe we'll do it one more time. Insert your keyframe. And then we'll back it the other direction. Let's see what this looks like. There we go. It's kind of jumping around like crazy, but all right. Photography and okay. So when it said photography, it did that. I kind of don't like it ending in that position. So I'm going to, for this last one, insert a keyframe and put it back to that 8 degrees or whatever I had it rotated to begin with. That's 9 degrees, but that's okay. All right, that way it sits itself back down. Computers, photography, and okay, so there we go, photography, and of course I still want to leave my camera on here the whole time until the end. Now it's going to cut off at 10 seconds anyway, so it's okay that this goes on farther. But if I was really bothered by it, you know, I could insert a keyframe here and change that end action to end right here at the end, and then the camera would disappear. Same thing with my lady who's talking, but I'm not done with her yet, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so we got the camera. I also talk about dumbbells, right? So I need to figure out where that is, which should be right here pretty close. Playing with weights. Playing with weights. Okay. So let's say for that one, we're going to have that like fly out of the sky and land over here on this table. Okay. So we don't want it to be in the scene yet. I'm going to scoot back a little bit here in time, and I'm going to import the dumbbells. So I'll go select the file. I'll choose the dumbbell. Once it gets loaded, I'll click on it and hit finish. And then it's going to come in, be way too big and all that good stuff. But I'm going to take it and put it up here in the sky where we can't see it, so that it's off of the scene. Okay. So when it comes in at this 6.9 seconds mark, it's completely off the scene. And then over the course of from here to here, I want it to like fall down. Now remember, we need a keyframe, and you can either right click like I did before and insert the keyframe first, or as long as your playhead is here, it'll automatically put that keyframe in. So now it just falls in. Learn more about. Okay, so there's my weights, and it came in, and that's good to go. And that's how, like when she walked in, we keyframed it from one position to the other. It's basically the same story here. And then I want that to stay there the whole time. And then when we get to this last position, I want to change the end action to end so that it would disappear technically when it was all said and done. Okay, so let's play this through and see it. Hi, I'm Mrs. Skinner, a teacher who loves computers, photography, and playing with weights. Learn more about fitness in my blog. Okay. We need one more pose because that's a requirement for my kiddos. So I would need to add an additional pose for the gal here. Maybe at the end we'll switch her to just standing there with her arms folded. Although if I'm still talking, that's kind of hard. I guess I'm not really talking at the very end. Blog. Okay, so maybe right about here we can kind of fake it. All right, so here I am just standing here. So same story. Where I want her inserted, I want to make sure, let me go ahead and scale this down so we can see a little bit better. I want to make sure to bring her in and position her about the same place as that gal. And then click her and resize her so that they're roughly the same height. It sizes from the top and bottom, so if you notice I kind of inserted her like in the middle of her right there. Okay, and then we're just going to have her stand there. So no big deal. I'm going to put an end action here to stop. And then the other gal, because we got to get her to get out of the way, she's the talking one. We need her to stop right before that one. So change end action and end. So that should be, there we go. So we go from arms out to that one with the arms crossed. Okay, that looks good. So now I should have all three of my people poses. I've got my two animated objects. Photography and playing with weights. Learn more about fitness in my blog. Wasn't the greatest transition there. It does sort of happen quickly. But it's okay. Probably my advice to you would be to leave yourself about a second and a half of no talking towards the end so you have time for that extra pose in there, but it's there. Okay, the last thing that my students have to do is to then add a shape with text for their blog address. So here's my Tanya's Techno Fitness blog address. And then to add in those additional elements, we would add a shape. I'll just have it come in during this last portion. So maybe about here right after the weight falls. I'll go over here to shapes. I'm going to click and hold the circle to get a rectangle. And then you're going to draw your rectangle. Let me decide what color here to make that. Maybe a brownish color or orangish color to kind of match what's going on in the rest of this. And then you're just going to click into that keyframe and draw the shape. So I've got my shape selected. I'm going to draw it. There we go. And you can animate your shape to come in or whatever, but I'm not going to do all that. And then finally, I just need to add my words, which would be on top of the shape. So the shape layer is down here again. At the end of this, I want to change the end action so that it ends and that there's a blank keyframe here at the end for my shape. And then I'm going to add my text. So click text. That'll take a second to load. Once you get your text tool selected, you can choose your fonts. They have a bunch of fonts. You can also upload fonts and stuff, but so I'll click a font and then go back. You would choose what size you need it to be and all that good stuff, what color. I'm going to choose black or white rather, and then click to put in your text. And you have to be careful. Sometimes it clicks on the other object, and that's not what I wanted it to do. I want my text to be separate. So you may need to like click again with your text tool. It says double click to edit that text. There we go. Kind of hard to get in there. I'm going to paste in my address. So there it is. And then, of course, I'm going to need to figure out what size I need that to be. And I don't like that there's no drop down arrow here. You can drag your mouse over it, but it doesn't really update very easily. So that's really not looking the best in the world. So let me scoot this over so my text starts at the same time as my shape. Notice here my shape got a keyframe added in there because I was clicked on it when I was doing stuff with my shape. I'm going to remove that keyframe because I don't want that. I'm going to need to make my box bigger. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go. Now, notice I didn't make my box bigger until the second keyframe. So it grows. I don't know. That's kind of fun, right? But not what I had in mind. Let me delete that keyframe again if I can get to it. I feel like if you don't have a mouse, it's really hard to do some of this on here. And I actually do have a mouse. I just can't get a hold of it. All right, remove keyframe. There we go. I want to go back, make sure your playhead is at the top, because if you don't, see, it makes extra keyframes. All right, my playhead is at the beginning of this. So there we go. Okie doke. Now, so we get here. There's my blog address. All good to go. And then we can go ahead and add in all those end. Change end action, end. I can get a hold of it. Oops. And if you end too soon like I did, just grab a hold of the edge of it and scoot it over. Not a big deal. Same thing here. I need to change end action and end. So that one disappears also. Okay, that should do it. Let's go back to the beginning. This is kind of a long tutorial. I'm sorry about that, but kind of a lot of things to cover here. All right, let's see how it looks. Oh, actually, let's just go ahead and look at it from the view. So if you were going to turn this in and it was done, you'd come over here and click on the name of it, and it will open in a new window. This is the address you would turn in for grading or share with somebody if you wanted to let them look at it. And then here it is.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Skinner, a teacher who loves computers, photography, and playing with weights. Learn more about fitness in my blog.
There we go. And that's it. So I've run you start to finish through an entire project. Took me just under 30 minutes to do. But that's basically how you can use keyframing and animation, draw shapes, add text, add sound. Lots of different things related to animating cartoons. So I hope this is helpful and have fun playing with the program.